More on this. We're joined by senior boxing commentator Paul Upham. Paul, you're laughing there. I mean, we just heard one of the greatest boxers of all time against a YouTuber. Was this all a big joke?
Look, it wasn't a joke when it comes to money, because they're both going to make millions and millions of dollars, and if that's what their aim was, they've done very well. Look, I look at what Logan Paul said there. Anything is possible. If you said a few years ago someone like him could fight the great Floyd Mayweather, you would say, no, it's not going to happen. And look, it wasn't a real fight. We have to put that into context. It wasn't a professional boxing match. It wasn't sanctioned. It doesn't affect Mayweather's record in any way. It certainly elevates the status of Logan Paul. He did okay. You know, you think about Mayweather is considered to be one of the best of all time, and did retire undefeated, multiple world champion. You know, he proved to be undefeated in his career over many years, and so Logan Paul, to get in there just to get the fight, he did very, very well. Yeah,
so that's how it came about, was it, from Logan Paul's side?
Look, it's a money thing, and Mayweather is all about the money. He saw it as a business opportunity. Logan Paul and his brother Jake have got unbelievable millions of followers on social media around the world, and it was about bringing them to the table and the money that they can be made. Look, Logan Paul's guaranteed 20 million. Mayweather, depending how the sales will go around the world, he could make upwards of $50 million. And really, it was a no-risk fight for him. Logan Paul was never going to knock him out. You saw the skills that he couldn't really land a decent punch, and it just showed the class between Mayweather and a real amateur like Logan Paul.
So describe the bout to us, and really what were the rules or the lack thereof?
Well, it was a normal boxing match, except it wasn't a professional. There was no record. There could be a knockout, so someone could have been won by knockout. But Mayweather was never a knockout puncher in his career. He was more of a technician. He was more about the boxing skills. And the big difference you saw there was his ability to make Logan Paul miss. He only landed 13% of the punches counted by CopyBox, who's the company which looks after these things. And it just showed you the skills there. But look, there was risk involved for Mayweather, so if he had been knocked out, he looked silly. But ultimately, he believed himself, the skills he's got, that he couldn't get knocked out, and you saw that. It was a one-horse race, really.
Do we have any idea how many people splashed out for the pay-per-view?
Well, we don't know. They do estimates. When it comes to a pay-per-view boxing match like this, they do modelling of how many pay-per-view sales they think it's going to be, and that's how they can guarantee Logan Paul $20 million. Mayweather's company, Mayweather Promotions, actually promoted the fight, so they get all the revenue streams in, and then Logan Paul gets his cut, Mayweather gets his cut, and then if there's more than what they thought pay-per-view sales, it'll be distributed between the two fighters and Mayweather. So, you know, if it sells really, really well, Mayweather could, you know, earn millions and millions extra. So, it's reality television. I don't see it so much as a professional boxing match, more like it's an extension of reality television these days.
It's interesting you say that, though, because you could have bet on this fight, couldn't you?
You could have bet where there was a knockout. You couldn't bet if there was a points win, because there was no judging, so there was no official judging scores. People watching the fight felt that Mayweather won 6 rounds to 2. He gave away the first 2 rounds. He probably didn't even land a punch. He was just feeling his opponent out, and then he came on, the fitness showed, even though he was 44, against a 26-year-old. But you could bet, and people, I'm sure, are still arguing about who won. There was people online straight after. The Logan Paul fans thought that he won because he threw more punches. He was throwing a lot more punches, but he wasn't landing. In boxing, we assess the quality of the punches landed, not how many you throw.
Yeah, because it seems so orchestrated. It just seems like for someone who would be putting a bet on, they didn't have all the information there and could never have.
Look, if Mayweather didn't want to win by knockout, he didn't have to push through and win by knockout. So if he told his friends, I'm just going to carry this guy, I'm just going to go the distance, put your money on the points win, well, then they cleaned up. And you don't really know. But as I said, Mayweather was not really a knockout puncher. And you saw the size difference. Paul came in at 86 kilos and Mayweather 70 kilos, huge height advantage there. And Mayweather still wouldn't want to take the risk. He wouldn't be too aggressive going for the knockout and then maybe get clipped himself and get hurt, because he doesn't want to lose that aura of the undefeated fighter, even though it wasn't a real boxing match.
Now, boxing has always been about big money. Is this the new age business?
It seems that way, and look, I think it's a reflection that boxing has not put on the best and biggest fights of all time. We've been talking about a third fight by Tyson Fury, the heavyweight champion, Deontay Wilder, for 18 months, and they still haven't been able to get it done, maybe in July now. So I think boxing, it's a reality check for the sport that we need to put the best fights on all of the time. Otherwise, there's going to be more and more of these reality television boxing matches, because if you can bring hundreds of millions of viewers to watch you as a fan, you can get in there and fight someone like Floyd Mayweather. And it can be done, because ultimately it's a business decision, it's not a sport.
So you looking at this bout, a YouTuber versus a retired boxer, What do you think? Does it hurt boxing, or is it good for the sport?
Traditionalists will hate it. They'll say this is terrible. If you had an emotional connection either to Mayweather or Paul, you got your money's worth tonight. If you were just watching it as a fan, it probably wasn't a really good boxing match. If some of these hundreds of millions of people who Paul brought to the match stay on and think, oh, I like boxing, I'll watch a bit more, then it's good for the sport. It can help the sport, but ultimately the realists understand it's not a real boxing match.
Paul Upham, thank you so much for your analysis.
Thanks, Gemma.